Hey there, folks. My name's Garret Neal, and this is your box office breakdown. We're going to be looking at the week of April 6th through the 8th. And as always, we'll start off with last week's box office, and then, of course, we'll go into what's coming out next week and take a look at that. We have 3 wide releases this week, not quite as much to talk about as last week, and some interesting results in last week's box office, as there usually is. So, let's get to it. Starting off with the top 5 of last weekend, at number 1 in its first week of release was A Quiet Place. I think we all knew this was going to be number 1, but I think the big surprise is this was getting projected high 20s, 27, 28, and the upper bounds really was 30, 31, 32, finished at 50.2 million over the 3 days in 3,500 theaters, blowing any projections out of the water. It was crazy. I mean, I knew that the hype for this film was there, that it had so much positive word of mouth going for it, but I didn't think it would get this much. That was crazy. I mean, it only cost $17 billion for the production, or 17 million, excuse me, 17 billion. That's one expensive movie right there. 17 million, which it's already made up, and it's probably already made up its marketing budget, especially when considering it made another 21 million worldwide in 40 markets. Got a B+ cinema score. Honestly, I'm surprised it wasn't an A, just based on how much positive stuff I've heard out of it. I know I enjoyed it when I saw it. I'm not even the biggest horror fan. And that $50 million opening is more than any of the Conjuring films, bigger than Split, which was huge when it came out early 2017, bigger than any of the Insidious openings. And right now it's comparing most to Paranormal Activity 3, which opened to 52.5 million and finished up around 104 million. I think I would not be surprised if this made more than that, because I think that this has a little bit more positive vibes around it than Paranormal Activity 3, which I actually have seen. That's the only Paranormal Activity film I have seen. But at that point, that was clearly the franchise still had a lot of hype around it, because that's how it made so much money, but I think that A Quiet Place has received much, much better reviews across the board, really, than Paranormal Activity 3 ever did. Moving on to number 2, Ready Player One in its second week dropped 41%, which is actually pretty good when you think about that last weekend was a 4-day weekend, so the really drop would be less than that if you just took the 3-day from 2 weekends ago when it opened up. So I think that's a pretty solid drop, which just goes to show the positive word of mouth that it's been mostly getting. And it also added 81.7 million worldwide. Still, it's been doing very well worldwide, and it's at 96 million total gross right now. So it'll pass that century mark next week, which would be exciting for it. Not that we really expected anything different, unless it got terrible reviews, which I'm thankful it didn't. Number 3, another new release. We had Blockers as the family-friendly name of that film, and that opened to 20.5 million, which looks small, obviously, compared to Quiet Place as the huge release, especially when looking at theater counts. Blockers was only in like 100 less, a little more than that, 120, 130 less theaters at 3,380. But so it seems like, oh well, blah blah blah, whatever. But it actually did pretty well, considering that a lot of the estimates were projecting it at around 16, 17, 18 million. So it didn't blow them out of the water like Quiet Place did, but it held its own. It still did slightly better than expected. One of the comps I had for it was Game Night, which made $17 million when it came out a few weeks ago. And so obviously it did better than that, but still kind of in that ballpark. My other comp was Neighbors, which opened to $40 million. It wasn't even close to that, but it is close to Neighbors 2, which opened to $21.7 million, and that finished with $55.5 million. I would expect Blockers to probably finish around that $50 million mark. I think it's been receiving slightly positive reviews, but nothing amazing that's really gonna push it forward. And I don't know that John Cena's gonna have to work at it a little bit to get that real Dwayne Johnson box office power, which we will get to shortly. I think that's that's all I have. Blockers also brought in 3.2 million worldwide. Obviously not. I don't think it's going to be a big worldwide appeal for that one. And it got a B cinema score. Coming in at number 4 in week 8, hanging around, was Black Panther at 8.7 million, dropping just 24% from its 7th week. Still in 2,750 theaters, dropped 250 from last week. And most importantly, it passed Titanic. Unfortunately, Titanic is one of my favorite films of all time because I'm a sap. But huge congratulations to Black Panther and the team behind that as it passes Titanic to become the 3rd highest domestic grossing film of all time. And that's where it will likely stay, as its domestic total is at 665 million right now, and I think Avatar was 700 something, so I highly doubt Black Panther will ever pass that. And then of course Force Awakens is like 940 million, something like that. So that one will stand probably for a very, very long time. But hey, you never know. Avengers Infinity War is right around the corner. That would be incredible if it... what if it made over $1 billion domestic? Huh? That would be crazy. I would love to see that. That would be insane. Moving on to number 5 and rounding out the last week's top box office is Tyler Perry's Acrimony with 8.3 million and a 50% drop. Big drop for that one. Maybe having to do with the fact that it's received pretty bad scores across the board. People not going back to see that one. It probably hit its target audience, and no one wants to see it again, really. And the word of mouth isn't spreading outside of that group. That's what I would kind of expect there. It's still in about 2,000 theaters for that. And always got to check in on that per theater average winner. One that made the most per theater, of course, was You Were Never Really Here, which is now a film. I mostly see the big budget films. I always try and make a point to see a few of the smaller ones every a few weeks because I know that's good to expand myself. This one I had heard of, and it's received a very, very good reviews. 87 on Metascore, 7.3 IMDb. Starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Lynn Ramsey. And it's about a traumatized veteran, unafraid of violence, tracks down missing girls for a living. When a job spins out of control, Joe's nightmares overtake him as a conspiracy is uncovered, leading to what may be his death trip or his awakening. Definitely interested in seeing that. I'm not sure if I'll like it or not, but it seems interesting, and it's gotten good enough reviews that I will be able to push myself out of my comfort zone and go see a smaller or limited release film. And one other thing of note that happened in box office last week is Jumanji is still around, believe it or not. And not only is it still around, but it passed. It didn't pass, but it came close to passing a significant milestone. As in week 16, Jumanji brought in $440 million. God, wow, what am I? I'm just 440,000 in its 16th week, as I literally just said. Still in just under 500 theaters, but that moved it within $55,000 from the first Spider-Man 2001, Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire. Jesus. Which would make Jumanji Sony's #1 domestic earner of all time. So would not be surprised to see it pass that next week by a lot and become Sony's highest domestic earner of all time, which is a big surprise because I didn't think it would ever get past Spider-Man 2, but it did. And hey, fun movie. My mom just saw it the other day, over the weekend. She texted me about it, and she liked it too. I think that's strange that this movie's still making that much money, because I'm pretty sure it's out on DVD, isn't it? Or it's at least coming soon. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Crazy to me. But that'll be that. And so we'll quickly take a break before we'll come back and look at the 3 new releases that we'll have coming up. But first, gotta tell you guys about Demon-thon, which is a big event here if you go to DePaul. Of course, it's a 24-hour dance marathon that DePaul hosts every year to raise money for the Robert H. and Ann Laurie Children's Hospital. If you can't make it to the dance, sorry. But you can join Radio DePaul right here on May 4th through the 5th, Star Wars Day, through the day after Star Wars Day, as we cover the entire event live from Demon-thon itself. Come join us for exclusive interviews with the families affected and those who organized this amazing experience, and many, many more heartwarming segments only found here on Radio DePaul. We also urge you to donate to this great cause through links on our website, app, and social media. It doesn't have to be a lot, because like any situation like this, every little bit helps the families at Laurie Children's Hospital, and together we can make a real difference. I mean, that's what happened in our last fundraiser, Rock the Clock. We did get one huge donation. We just got a lot of small ones, and it added up, and we were really able to do something special there. So we hope to do something similar here. So be sure to listen to the big event, Demon-thon, from May 4th through the 5th, here on Radio DePaul, Chicago's College Connection. And with that, I am Garret Neal. You're listening to the Box Office Breakdown, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. This is your Box Office Breakdown, and I am still Garret Neal, surprisingly. And you're listening right here on Radio DePaul, Chicago's College Connection. Hope you enjoyed those lovely commercials. But now we're back to some more movies. I know I said I was done, but a couple more things that I did want to mention about last week's box office. Just want to note the other 2 wide releases that finished outside the top 5. Chappaquiddick, released in just over 1,500 theaters, made $5.7 million, which was a little over. It was projected around $3.5–4 million. It's gotten middling reviews. And the other one, The Miracle Season, $3.9 million in 1,700 theaters. Which it was also projected around 3.5, 4. We did not have reviews for that in last week's show, and it has predictably received kind of okay ratings, 44 Metascore, 6.2 on IMDb, slightly more positive there, but I would not expect that to hold super well, but we'll see. So now we will actually move on to this week's releases. Not a whole lot, but, still 3 films. We'll see. Barely 3. It's kind of 2.5. But, of course, the biggest one, and one that I'm very excited for, is Rampage, which stars Dwayne Johnson as primatologist Davis Okoye, who shares an unshakable bond with George, the albino gorilla, and has taken care of him since birth. But a rogue genetic experiment gone awry transforms this gentle ape into a raging monster as these newly created monsters tear across North America, destroying everything in their path. Okoye teams with a discredited genetic engineer to secure an antidote, fighting his way through an ever-changing battlefield, not only to halt a global catastrophe, but to save the fearsome creature that was once his friend. Oh man, so excited. Has a gorilla in it, automatically. Something I need to see. And it has Dwayne Johnson, which is another plus, based off of the video game. The original arcade game came out in the 80s. I should have looked that up. I'm going to look it up right now as I stall with some random numbers. It's coming out in 3,950 plus theaters, coming from Box Office Mojo. Also, all those domestic box office numbers from Box Office Mojo as well. Should have said that earlier, but just going to put that out there. And these long-range forecast numbers that I'm going to be throwing out as we get through this week's releases are from Box Office Pro. Got to cite those sources, baby. Make those English teachers proud. Rampage, also PG-13. Just got to get those fundamentals out of the way. And right now, the long-range forecast is at 37 million, which is up 19% from last week. So it's trending up. So that means you might expect it to make maybe a little more than that. Maybe get to the 40, 41, 42. We'll see. Who knows? Starring the one and only Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So you know he's always a big bonus as far as the money goes. And we got some good comps because of that as well. Of course, he's riding high off the success of Jumanji, which we're still talking about. Somehow, just brought it up this last segment. It's crazy. And that opened in 3,700 theaters in December, which was, of course, the second week of Star Wars: The Last Jedi when this thing opened. Still made a pretty solid 36 million. This is Rampage is in more theaters than that. Is not competing with Star Wars. It's not competing with Avengers: Infinity War very purposefully. It moved itself up a week more to be removed, another week removed. It was supposed to come out not this weekend, but the week after. But then when Infinity War got moved back, they're like, "Whoa, hey, that's a little that's a little close there. Let's back it up a little bit," and left Super Troopers 2 in the dust. So now they don't have that competition. So I would expect Jumanji or Rampage to make a little more than Jumanji. We do not have reviews out right now for Rampage, which doesn't show a lot of confidence. Whereas I don't know if we did have reviews for Jumanji coming out to its release. I don't remember, but I do remember that I at least went to an advanced screening that Amazon Prime had, like a big event with holding a bunch of advanced screenings. So I know at least some people had seen it, and the word of mouth was very good for that film. So we don't know if Rampage is going to get that bonus, but even so, I would expect it to make a little more than Jumanji. Another one that I would look at is San Andreas, which came out in 2015 in May, the last week of May 29th, and it was in 3,777 theaters, so definitely less than what Rampage is going to get. Rampage is probably going to get over 4,000 theaters. And San Andreas did not get very good reviews, and is by the same director of Rampage, and that made 54.6 million. So honestly, I would expect Rampage to get something upwards of that. If it just gets middling, okay reviews with Dwayne, and the trailers have made it look like a fun action film. We don't know if it will be, but I think it could. It's definitely going to get above 40 as far as I'm concerned. And 54 might be a lot, but I think it definitely could get 45, 46, and maybe definitely could get towards that 50 million mark, but I don't know if it'll get to 54 or 55. We shall see. The original Rampage came out in 1986, and it has had a bunch of sequels and adaptations. I think the last one was Rampage: Shoal Destruction, which came out on the GameCube and the PS2, as well as the Wii, and that came out in 2006. And then it was re-released for the Wii in 2007. Yeah, it was, and it definitely, I think, came down over the years as far as critical acclaim goes. But I mean, this movie is really just kind of loosely based on that. This is a game that, yeah, you played as the gorilla or the giant wolf or the lizard, and they had names. Lizzie, I know, it was Lizzie the lizard, and George, of course, was the gorilla, as it is in the movie, and Ralph was the giant wolf. So we'll see if they keep those names. Lizzie and Ralph would be very, very funny. But and you just went around and broke down a bunch of buildings and, you know, tanks and whatever the military threw at you. And I have not personally played it, but it looked pretty fun. Very loose relation to the film, though, clearly. Wow, it's already 5:53. All right. Luckily, we don't have too much more. Just these last two films. Truth or Dare, another a Blumhouse horror production, releasing in 3,000 theaters, PG-13. Quick rundown of what that is. A harmless game of truth or dare among friends turns deadly when someone or something begins to punish those who tell a lie or refuse the dare. Honestly, I think this looks pretty bad, but as I said earlier, horrors are not super my thing. But it is a Blumhouse production, gives us some good comp options. Right now, the long-range forecast is set about 14 million. That's down 7% from last week, according to Box Office Pro. So not the direction that it wants to be going in. Didn't really have anyone super recognizable in it, at least to my eyes. At least anyone that's a huge box office presence that carries a fan base with them. Some things I was looking that it might be close to: Unfriended, which came out similar time in 2015, came out the 17th of April, and that was in 2,700 theaters, so a little bit smaller there. And that made about 16 million, and that one also did not have really any buzz. Again, no reviews out for this film, no reviews out for any of the films this week. So yeah, it shows you it might not be the hottest as far as new films go. That's one of the reasons why I think I'll go see You're Never Really Here this weekend. Two other ones: Ouija, which came out 2014 in October, so that's always a big horror month. And that was in 2,800 films. That made about 20 million. And then the sequel, Ouija Origins of Evil, which similarly I think did not have very good reviews. I don't really know if the first one had super good reviews either. But that also came out in October, so very different time frame. That came out in just over 3,000 theaters and made 14 million. I would expect Truth or Dare. I really think, you know, for a type of film like this, Blumhouse Productions, we kind of know what we're going to get. They just do so much, and it's not one of the established, you know, Paranormal Activity, Conjuring, Insidious franchises. So I would expect it to get around that 14, 15, maybe 13 or 12 million, depending on how people like Rampage. And also, I think it will get significantly cut into by A Quiet Place, which I think will hold very well because of the word of mouth. So that's going to cut into that audience there. And before we wrap up, we got to get to the last one: Sergeant Stubby, An American Hero. New animated film. Don't know anything about this. No reviews out, no theater count, no long-range forecast, obviously, because it's hard to do that without a theater count. So that makes it very hard to do any comparisons, even bad comparisons that I always make. I take all these comparisons I've made with huge grains of salt because I'm still getting used to it. This has Helena Bonham Carter, Logan Lerman. It tells the story of, here we go. A stray dog, Sergeant Stubby, gets adopted by a soldier while training for World War I. For his valorous actions, Sergeant Stubby is still recognized as the most decorated dog in American history. What a dude. It's an animated film, and have not seen anything about this. So the one comparison I came up with was Mars Needs Moms. We all remember that stunning animated film from back in 2011. And that one came out in 3,000 theaters. I don't think Stubby's going to get that much, but I was just going with around there because, I don't know. It says it's going to be a nationwide release. We'll see. That one made $6.9 million. Also, Leap, which came out in summer of 2017 in a little bit under 3,000 theaters. Now it made $4.7 million. That was another one that didn't have a huge marketing team around it. But really, we don't know anything about this. Wouldn't expect it to do very well. And those are the 3 wide releases, and that's going to do it for the second week of the box office breakdown. Another action-packed episode, and we'll be back next week. We'll talk about how Rampage did, and look at the week ahead, and that'll be an interesting week. We'll be talking about, I feel pretty, Super Troopers 2 mostly, which will be interesting to look at, and then we'll be 1 week closer to Avengers Infinity War, which will be super fun, and I'm super looking forward to it. But I gotta get out of here. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed saying a bunch of movie-related numbers and talking about movies for half an hour. So tune in next week and stuff when I do more of the same. I've been Garrett, and you're listening to Rated Paul, Chicago's College Connection. Have a great day. I didn't record. Nice.
Disappointed you.